Shnautra aure mazda Hashem vahu vahishte masti ushtaste Ushtahamaya tashai vahishtai Hashem Baname ahura mazda. To think a good thought, to speak a good word, to do a good deed is righteousness. Happiness comes to those who live with the consciousness of righteousness. And with that sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, this is Meher Amal Saad and welcome to Bahumata, a program designed to build oneness with the consciousness of righteousness in humanity. The goal is not to grow the plant but to plant the seed for each one of us to blossom with our own love, light, grace, joy, and peace. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this very special journey to enlightenment. And as you do, please join me in giving a warm Zartushti welcome to our very own Zartushti neuroscientist from United Kingdom, Dr. Karishma Koka.
Zor Hama Shobad. Welcome everybody from all over the world. Today we have with us a very special session of Bahumata designed to build fellowship. On the 1st of January, which was marked as the Day of Collective Consciousness in honor of Asho Zarathustra, who guides us to progress together towards Frasho Kerati, we had a fantastic array of speakers. And we are building upon that today. And before we do that, and start by asking Mobedyar, Khushroo, Mirza to do a hambandagi, let me explain to you the principles of Bahumata, a program designed with good thoughts to conserve and share the knowledge in the prayers, the principles, and the practice of the Zarathushti Daina, to honor our priests and our knowledgeable elders, and build a bridge of communication with our elders and the youth for empowerment, or as we say, Kshatra Vairya, the power to empower. So that with good thoughts, we grow this fellowship and world peace and happiness and prosperity of all. I will first request Mobedyar Sahib Khushroo Mirza to do a short hambandagi and then continue the introduction to the program. Khushroo Sahib.
Okay. Yenge hatam matyasne paiti vangho mazdao ahuroveta ashathacha Yong ham cha tascha taoscha yazamaide. The translation by T.R. Setna. We praise those men and women from amongst the living whose actions are good and whose goodness is judged by righteous Ahura Mazda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mobedyar Sahib Khushroo Mirza. The program of Bahumata is designed with our team, and I give gratitude to everyone who has contributed towards this program. Our previous session featured speakers from around the world, and today also we will feature speakers from different parts of the globe based on the concept of the Airyama Ishyo prayer and other prayers. We give gratitude to those who amplify the messages by sharing the message of Asho Zarathustra, including Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Parsi Junction, Worldwide Zoroastrians, and all the associations around the world who share the message with their people. Our core team comprises of Mr. Meher Amal Saji, Mr. Yazdi Tantra, and our priest, Mobedyar Firozgari Sahib, Ravan Shad Mobi Soli P. Dastur, Mr. Noshad Dadrawala. Mr. Yazdi Tantra does all our technology, and the rest of our priests give us guidance, and our whole team helps us. Today we will talk about celebrating togetherness through mindfulness. The program for the day will have concepts from the prayers, lines and words from the prayers, and the speaker's own interpretation, Varshta. We will then have questions related to the specific talk, and then open up for a dialogue and Bahumana sharing from our audience so that all of you can share with us your experiences with the prayers. I'm very grateful to Mr. Meher Amalsaji, my mentor and the kind facilitator of Bahumata, for bringing all our speakers together. With that, if I may please hand over for our first talk after giving you a short introduction to our first speaker. Our first speaker is a very, very special person. He is Mobedyar Sahib Khushroo Mirza. Mobedyar Khushroo Mirza is actually part of the NAMC and he has taught people. He's from Canada. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce this legendary person from the Mirza family, who is hailed among the 9 original Sanjana families deemed as the protectors of our sacred Iran Shah in Udvada. Mobedyar Khushroo Mirza Sahib was born in Bombay in India and immigrated to Montreal, Canada with his family in 1969. He is a master mariner with degrees from India and Canada. In 1979, he launched and operated his own ship chartering company and retired in 2001 and was immediately invited by FedNav Limited of Montreal to work as a marine consultant for them. Finally, he retired in 2009. Mobedyar Mirza has had a very keen interest in education. He has taught nautical subjects on the training ship Davar in Mumbai before moving to Montreal. He has ardently served as the president of the Zoroastrian Association of Quebec for 4 years and has also served as the vice president of the Ontario Zoroastrian Community Foundation. Mobedyar Khushroo was a founding member and secretary of the World Zoroastrian Organization Canada. He is a trained Mobedyar and has been participating in performing religious rituals in Montreal as well as in Toronto. He has actively participated in teaching Zoroastrianism and leading discussion groups for youth and seniors, both in Montreal and Toronto, and if I may add, has also contributed to the NAMC series of international lectures, which are available on YouTube. Mobedyar Khushroo and his wife Minnie now live in Oakville, Ontario, to be closer to family. And he regularly hosts talks with the Zoroastrian youth, hosted by the OZCF, the Ontario Zoroastrian Community Foundation. He has conducted insightful and interactive discussion sessions about how Zoroastrians can tackle discrimination within our community and beyond. He has also an avid interest in discussing the scriptures and what they teach us about prejudice, discrimination, overcoming these, and living a righteous life. He has also focused on inequity, discrimination, racism, injustice, and how we can channel our energies to produce creative solutions for the betterment of our community and further. He firmly believes that we have a responsibility to make our community more inclusive. His motto is, let's work together to create a united, harmonious community that we can be proud of being part of. He is also very passionate about the application. I'm just going to share the screen so you can actually read his words. Thank you very much to Baba Meher for putting this together for us. And he says, Zarathustric core principles in our daily lives. What are these core principles? What do they mean to us in simple terms? And how do we adhere to these principles? With that enlightened sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, let us now get ready for this very special treat as he focuses on celebrating togetherness with mindfulness. Large round of applause for Mobedyar Sahib Khushroo Mirza.
Wow, thank you very much, Karishma. I don't know what to say. But after hearing this, my wife called out from the other room saying she wants to meet this guy. Anyway, I'm Khushroo Mirza. And this talk that we are having today about celebrating togetherness through mindfulness, I had to actually go into the dictionary to look for the meaning of the word mindfulness as it would apply to us in today's talk. Merriam-Webster dictionary defines mindfulness as the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, or experiences on a moment-to-moment basis. Well, one word caught my attention in the above definition, and that is the word non-judgmental. You see, when we view people through a judgmental lens, we tend to create labels such as us and them. Well, this creates divisions in society. You have the liberals versus conservatives, Republicans versus Democrats, people of different faiths viewing each other with suspicion. In other words, we raise unnecessary barriers. Such barriers lead to discrimination. When there is discrimination, it's very difficult to have togetherness. Well, let's take a look at our Zarathustra scriptures. See if we can find any reference to this problem. Well, there is no mention of discrimination in the Gathas of Zarathustra, but rather inclusivity of all human beings. The prophet only distinguished people who chose to follow the path of righteousness and those who chose to be deceitful. As we know, traditionally, the Turanians were enemies of Iran, and there were several wars between these two countries for millennia. However, in Yasna 46, verse 12 of the Gatha, Zarathustra applauds the family of Friana, a Turanian, who chose to follow the path of righteousness. This concept of togetherness amongst like-minded people, honest people, righteous people, is highlighted in the opening lines of the Ayama Ishyo prayer, Yasna 54, verse 1, which is translated by Professor Irach Taraporwala as follows. May the much desired brotherhood come hither for our rejoicing, for the men and for the maidens of Zarathustra, for the fulfillment of Bahumano. Now, Professor Taraporwala considers Bahumano to mean more than just good mind. He says the one thing essential for the good mind is all-embracing love. The brotherhood mentioned here refers to the people who chose to follow the path of Asha or righteousness. Going back to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it also goes on to give the following interpretation for mindfulness. In order to love someone or something, one must be mindful of their needs. Well, this brings me to our Mobedyar prayer, popularly known as the Yathahu Vairyo. This prayer teaches us to give help to the needy in a mindful manner. That is to say, we give help when the person needs it, not just when it is convenient to us. We all know about the soul and the fravashi. They are two different things, and that's another topic for another day. But the fravashi is defined as the divine essence in all creations of Ahura Mazda. This divine essence is sent down to earth to help us follow the path of Asha. Since we all share a part of Ahura Mazda, so to speak, there is a sense or a bond of togetherness which we share as human beings. In the Pravadin Yash, Karda 31, verse 145, we pray, we revere the Pravashis of righteous men and women of all countries, T.R. Setna's translation. Now, in a similar vein, the Hindu greeting Namaste has been commonly translated as we bow to each other. However, my favorite explanation is the spiritual interpretation of this, which says the divinity within me recognizes the divinity within you. It's a beautiful sentiment when you say namaste to each other. Now, when the pandemic first hit us, COVID-19, it brought out a remarkable degree of cooperation on all of us. Neighbor helping neighbor, communities lending a helping hand to each other. For example, our OZCF Youth Committee volunteered to pick up essential groceries for the senior and therefore more vulnerable members of our community. We ourselves benefited from that when they would go and do our shopping for us, and we just paid them with an e-transfer. They would deliver these items to our house. That was a lovely, lovely gesture by our youth. Even when politics took a break during this pandemic, beginning of the pandemic, putting aside party lines, in Canada, governments at all levels began working and cooperating with each other. The catchphrase was, we are all in this together. All right, that was a beautiful thing that happened. I mean, you can take the positive, even though COVID-19 was not much of a positive in itself, but it created this thing. People of differing backgrounds and cultures tend to be wary of each other. And this, as mentioned earlier, creates barriers and prevents togetherness. So instead of being wary of our differences, if we treat those differences as an opportunity to learn and experience new values, life would be so much pleasanter. There is a saying in French which goes, vive la différence, long live the difference. Mind you, this was originally coined by a French writer named Anatole France as a humorous saying, which welcomed the difference between the male and female sexes. That's why they said, vive la différence. However, it can also be used in a beneficial manner to create harmony amongst each other. We welcome our differences. Life would be so much better if we could be interested in what makes some people different from us, rather than find fault with them for not being of the same ilk as us. Another wise French saying is, la nuit naquit un jour de l'uniformité, which translated means boredom was born one day out of uniformity. So difference brings novelty into our lives. Let us rejoice in our differences and celebrate our togetherness through mindfulness. Hamazor, Hamashobed, may we all be united in strength and righteousness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khushroo Sahib, for that meaningful and inspiring talk. We thank our audience for being here to build this fellowship. We thank the organizers of the World Zoroastrian Congress who are working round the clock to amplify the good and continue to build the welfare and the fellowship of everybody. And we thank all the associations who are doing so much for so many people. Our next speaker is Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian. And like with all our biographies for Bahumata, this one is also written kindly by Baba Meher. Thank you, Baba. It is with immense pride that I would like to introduce this eminent Zartushti speaker from Germany and Iran, who is acclaimed as a Google scholar for her scholastic contribution in the field of medicine and alternative therapies. Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian, MD, is a general practitioner who, after graduating from the Tehran University of Medical Sciences, Iran, continued to pursue a doctorate program in Iranian traditional medicine at the same university. She currently lives in Berlin, in Germany, with her husband Mobed Ramin Shahzadi and her children. She has authored and co-authored numerous scholastic papers in the field of medicine and alternative therapies. Just to name a few, and again, it's important that we capture this for our audience in the future. So I'm going to share the screen briefly. It has novel variants in the European Journal of Medical Genetics, a review of Iranian traditional massage for DULC and chronic low back pain in the Archives of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, visceral manipulation and resources of Persian medicine in the Journal of Traditional and Integrative Medicine, nutritional recommendations for breast cancer treatments, a review of Persian and conventional medicine resources in the Asian Journal of Traditional and Complementary and Alternative Medicines, efficacy of Persian medicine herbal formulations, both capsule and decoctions, compared to standard care in patients with COVID-19, a multi-center, open-labeled, randomized controlled clinical trial, which has been published in the Journal of Phytotherapy Research last year, avascular necrosis in patients recovering from COVID-19 in the American Journal of Medical Sciences. So this is very much the bleeding edge of science and technology. Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian was officially certified as a Mobedyar by the Council of Iranian Mobeds in 2012, under the esteemed guidance of our highly respected and honorable head priest of Iran, Mobed Mehraban Firuzgari. Mobed Firuzgari also performed the marriage ceremony of Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian with his nephew, Mobed Ramin Shahzadi, who has also been a featured speaker for the Bahumata opening ceremony last year in January 2021. And as all of us know, recognize, and give gratitude for, he encourages marriages. He encourages them constantly through their life, and he blesses several marriages and acts as marriage registrar in Iran. Our respect and gratitude to Mobed Saheb Mehraban Firuzgari. Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian has also been certified by the Council of Iranian Mobeds to serve as an official teacher of our Zarathushtri religion in Iran, as well as to teach higher level refresher courses to expand the knowledge of our registered Iranian religion teachers. It is important to note that the main purpose of the whole process of producing female Mobedyars, which is assistants to the priests, who also act as teachers, is to put into practice Zarathustra's teaching and our cultural belief about the equality of men and women and the freedom of choice, as Baba Meher has written. Mobedyar Dr. Parva Namiranian feels honored to be among the active members of the Zoroastrian Society in various fields. She has made numerous speeches at various Iranian Zoroastrian ceremonies, as well as at the World Zoroastrian Youth Congresses. She has served as an official delegate representative of the Zoroastrian community of Iran at the 2007 Fourth World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in Australia, as well as the 2011 Fifth World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in Canada. She has also offered her kind services by taking on the responsibility of translating sections in the Pravahar Journal, which is the most famous and reputable journal of Zoroastrian community in Iran. Mobed Parva Namiranian has also authored a book titled Iran, the origin of the first world civilizations. She has also cooperated with the Council of Iranian Mobeds for translating religious books and brochures into English. We are truly grateful for the selfless service and dedication she has so graciously offered to the future generation of the Zarathushtri community in our motherland, all with having 3 children and managing a medical career. With that token of appreciation, ladies and gentlemen, please join us in giving a warm Zarathushtri welcome to our very own Google Scholar, eminent Bahumata speaker from Germany, and representative at the World Congresses several times over. Thank you very much, Mobedyar. Parvajan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Karishma, and also Baba Mer. Sorry if I may speak German words. I'm learning German. Maybe I change sometimes. I am doing my best, but sorry for that. Thank you very much. That is very, very kind of you. I am not such a great person. Thank you very, very much. Also, I want to thank Mobedyar, Khushroo, Mirza. That was a beautiful talk. I enjoyed it very much. I don't know if my speech will be of value after hearing so much nice words or not, but I will do my best. I share screen. Yeah. Yes. I start my speech. Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank and express my deepest gratitude to the founder, leaders, and all the colleagues who worked together to start these useful series of webinars, which are named Bahumata. And thanks for inviting me to share my message with others. For the topic that we have today, celebrating togetherness through mindfulness, I would like to share some points, and two viewpoints are especially considerable in this regard, religious and scientific. Togetherness is very important from religious point of view. For example, as mentioned in Neirangistan, the group holding of Gahambar ceremony has had religious significance, and the kerfa or reward of holding group Gahambars is very, very high. Additionally, it is mentioned in Neirangistan that the number of people who participate in Gahambar is very important. So we clearly see that togetherness is mentioned in our religious text. Also, we all know the importance of gatherings for Avesta recitation and untying and retying Kushti in a group of Zartushti people. That is very important and gives us so much energy. The energy that is felt in this case is many times more than reciting Avesta and untying and retying Kushti alone. And the importance of this positive energy can also be seen in a scientific way. As a medical doctor, I have seen many patients with problems that seemed unsolvable according to medicine, but were resolved in a way that could not be explained by science. In these cases, and when science cannot solve all things, the importance and the role of metaphysical or Minu world is more emphasized. I think so. In the Iranians' beliefs, Ardvahisht as the Ameshaspenta or Amshospand is praised to be the curer and the terminator of diseases. In Ardvahishtiasht, O Airiemoishia is mentioned as the greatest prayer for health and the removal of diseases. Also, his name is mentioned by Ahura Mazda as a curer prayer. Airiaman mantranam, Baishazem mantranam, Baishaziotemem. Airiaman Ishia is an Avestan prayer of Yasna 54, first one, which begins with words A Airiama Ishio. It might basically have been purposed to summon Airiaman to safeguard the community. Airiaman or Airman, which literally means friends or companion, is a special Yazata in Zoroastrianism. And all in all, I think that we should learn from ritual ceremonies like Gahambars and We should learn to enjoy the pleasure of our gatherings when, of course, when gatherings becomes possible again. I think one of the good ways of achieving mindfulness is by looking, concentrating, and praying in front of fire, which happens in our fire temples or atashkades. In fact, a fire temple with people who pray to God there is the best sample of celebrating togetherness through mindfulness. And I hope that the world would be very soon in the situation of celebrating this togetherness again. That was message that I wanted to share with you. I thank you again, all the committee, organizing committee, and also thank you everybody for very much for paying attention. Thank you.
Mobedyar Parva Jan, what an important message of the balance of the spiritual and the physical, the scientific and the religious. Simply splendid. The idea, my issue prayer is what we are currently living in action through all the priests who are actually sharing their prayers on Zoom sessions. We have one such with us, our respected Mabed Sahib, Dasturji Zarir Pandara with us. Like that, we have, I suppose, all the associations of the world are doing their very best, including the ZTFE over here, all of them around the world. And this ability to, as Zarir Sahib says, participate in the prayers, not watch the prayers, and allow the vibrations to be carried through our mind. As it says, the Baretu, the carrier of the Matravani.
And when we pray together.
And when we pray together, we are all strengthened in these times of great need. Thank you, Parvajan, Mobedyar Sahib, for explaining how this can actually benefit our health in a scientific way. We need you to do this more often for us. Thank you. Again, the World Zartoshti Congress is working to bring all such people together so that this resonance in the world increases. So credit to all the organizers of the World Congress and all the people who are facilitating bringing people together. For example, I know they're working very hard to bring people from Iran to the World Congress where possible. So everyone is doing their very best right now, all behind the scenes, and we don't even get to know of who is doing what. Our next speaker is also a very special person who has worked behind the scenes for a long time. And it gives me immense delight to introduce to you a very promising Zartoshti youth who is featured today as our Bahumata Zartoshti youth speaker from our motherland, Iran, and from the United States of America. Anahita Hormozdyari was born and raised in Iran and is currently residing in Sacramento, California. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, Exercise Science, and is presently pursuing a doctorate program in physical therapy. Her family has always been very active in various Zoroastrian associations in Iran, such as the Fravahar Institution, which has inspired her to always remain involved with religious and cultural activities within the community. Anahita Jan served as the Vice Chair of Operations for the 2019 7th World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in Los Angeles, California, where she was intricately involved in planning various activities while managing over 50 volunteers all across North America and worldwide. What monumental commitment. Our hats off to you, dear Anahita. With a passion to help our future generations, Anahita has served as a teacher at California Zoroastrian Center in Westminster, California, for many years, where she has been involved in teaching kindergarten children how to read, write, and speak Farsi, in addition to their morning prayers. This gives them the meaning of the prayers, together with learning their prayers. Currently, she is one of the members of the Sacramento Zoroastrian Organization and also serves as the co-chair of the Religious and Cultural Committee of the Zoroastrian Youth of North America, another very important organization. It's called Zaina. It is the youth wing of Fezana, the Federation of the Zoroastrian Association of North America. In 2017, Anahita participated in the Return to Roots program as a fellow participant from United States of America, which broadened her perspective about other fellow Zartushtis outside of Iran. The Return to Roots program, as you may have seen in several videos, Huzan has also shared these over time, does a lot of important work, not just bringing people together, but also doing work in India and passing things on to the next generation and building the bridge between the senior generation and the next generation, for which we give gratitude. Anahita has also ardently served on the California Zoroastrian Center Youth Committee, which is the youth wing of the California Zoroastrian Center in Westminster, California. Now, CZC, as many of you know, is doing a lot of work online, putting together lectures and prayer sessions, and has also recently conducted the award ceremony last year. And it is the largest Iranian Zoroastrian organization in the world outside of Iran. On this committee, she was assigned the task of engaging our Zartushti youth by creating a communal sense of belonging within them in California via a broad range of events, activities, and programs throughout the year. We thank you, Anahita Jan, for your passion and dedication towards igniting a spark of inspiration in our future generation. Now, a very important note also is that her marriage to Khodadram Partovi was conducted by Mobed Sahib Meherban Firuzgari from Iran, the same person who conducted the marriage of Parva Jan and Ramin, Mobed Ramin. So gratitude once again to Mobed Sahib Firuzgari. Anahita Jan, thank you. Much gratitude to you, Baba Meher, for the introduction.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. As Dr. Karishma kindly introduced me, my name is Anahita Hormozdyari, and I would like to thank you all for taking your time and join our meeting today. Thank you, Mirza, for inviting me. It is my honor to be part of this panel. I'm really excited to share some perspectives of mindfulness. If we could have that PowerPoint on, thank you. I think one of the best ways for us to consider mindfulness and how central it has been to our community is through looking at our history and as a faith community. As a community, we have been through a lot. History has meant a lot of trauma and pain for our people, from the Arabs forcing our ancestors to flee or pay a tax to exist, to the inhumane treatments that our people were subject to for, and even now in current age, with the continued discrimination facing our community. Yet through it all, we have continued to resist, persist, and survive. This is not an accident. From the early days of our religion, our ancestors have perfected the notion of mindfulness and used and practiced it as a community in order to survive. From hosting of Gayam bars to community prayers and cultural traditions, our people have created a collective form of mindfulness by looking to our religion and our community as means of survival. Now in the next slide, let's talk about the world we live in today. It's no secret that our community has faced a lot of trauma in the past 2 years. Unfortunately, we have lost friends, family members, and loved ones. Many of us have not seen our family members for years. The threat of this pandemic continues to impact our community in ways that we could have never imagined. Yet at the same time, we need to realize that in the holistic view, this pandemic is not much different than any other trauma that our ancestors faced. And we can get through it by following the steps of our mothers, fathers, and grandfathers followed before us. First, we need to recognize that mental well-being is just as important as physical well-being. We need to protect each other and shelter each other from the negativity and pain that this pandemic has caused our community. And we need to lift each other up. We can go to the next slide, please. We also need to recognize that each of us are playing many different roles. We are parents, children, siblings, friends, co-workers, we are caregivers, we are mentors and mentees. We are facing many different struggles and helping each other face through our struggles. But this is not an easy task, and there will be low moments and high moments in each of our journeys to surviving this pandemic. It is important that we remember it's okay to feel low, but we must always remember there is a righteous path of light ahead. And if we ever lose our ways, we must remember to look within our faith and religion for answers and guidance. Ultimately, the key to our survival and happiness is through taking this journey as a community. So let's celebrate our community and let's celebrate our togetherness through mindfulness. Now I'd like to invite you all to join me as we listen to a tenderity prayer by our dear Mubed Mehraban Firuzgari, and I hope you join me in sending this prayer and energy for the health and well-being of our community as a collective and to Zartoshis in every corner of the world. Wish you all the best. Thank you for your time.
Ulmes panahbal, dizi veshni shautbal, yatahu veyu atarato shashachi hachal, vengyosh tazram mengosh yautananam vengyosh mazdai, shatram chauraya, indigo byu tadvastaram, Tandurusti dizi veshni havayat paranangat ashuizat Afaridigare meinavano gityan anashas mandan Nyazde roshan hama berasat Hindudman shadbat Afarin bad hume andar kasan raat Zaratoshtradin Shaud Baud, Heidun Baud, Khahan Baud, Hormozdyari Rao, Amal Anjaman Rao, Dine Zaratoshti Rao, Ame Dehinam Rao, Tandurusti Niknami, Tandurusti Zindigani, Tandurusti Trafruzi, Tandurusti shadi o ranashni, Tandurusti tanakhi shra, ba hamaye khanavadara, zindagani draz ba, veer bida, shad bida, Tandurust bida, heidun bida, barsare arzaniyan bida, Salhay Bisya, Ruzhay Bishma, Javido Payanda Bida, Sad Hazaron Hazar Afrin Ba, Sal Khudaste Ba, Ma Farof Ba, Ruz Farkhonde Ba, Chandin Sal, Chandin Ruz, Chandin Ma, Dasyar Sal Azani Dal, Yazeshno Niyayesh, Ragi O Zuro Barashne Ashui dal. Avar hama karo kirpa, tandusti baut, radhi baut, niki baut, khubi baut, edun taj baut. Kau mazdo amashas vandan kama baut. Ashune Ashembahu Vahishtem Asti Mushtasti Mushtahmai Yadashayi Vahishayi Hashem.
Thank you very much, Anahita Jan, for that very special prayer. Thank you, Yazdi, for playing it for us so seamlessly. As Anahita Jan has worked for the Youth Congress, we have the World Zarathushtri Congress, Zoroastrian Congress coming up in June. People are working behind the scenes. We have the Youth Congress coming up next year, hosted by the ZTFE. People are working behind the scenes, and it takes hundreds of hours of combined effort, together with mentoring by our seniors, the trust of our seniors, to make these sorts of events possible, to imagine them, to envision them, and then make them a reality is beyond imagination. Thank you to all of you over the years. Our next speaker is a mentor, a very special lady, now from Sydney, Australia. And it gives me immense pleasure and pride to introduce this special Zarathushti spiritualist, psychotherapist, healer from Sydney, who has authored 3 books on individual, that is personal, psychological, and spiritual development. As Baba Meher writes, she was also the founder and managing trustee of the Arthravan Educational Trust in Mumbai, in India, after undertaking extensive research on the socio-economic conditions of the Mobeds in India. Dr. Huzan Davar is a psychotherapist, holistic counselor, and facilitator of self-transformation through meditation. She has over 30 years of experience in holistic wellness, mental health, and social work, spanning from the Working with Mother Teresa home for the destitute and the slums of Mumbai, healing work with AIDS people and cancer people in Canada, to mental health counseling work and lecturing and teaching in colleges in Australia. Huzan was born in India and was drawn to spirituality from an early age. She has gained knowledge in numerous modalities of spiritual healing, such as Reiki, hands-on healing, Qigong, yoga, and meditation. She has over 30 years of experience in this field and has taught at Hornsby Curing-Guy Community College, the Nature Care College, and now at master's level at Australian College of Professions in Sydney, and has taught at numerous organizations and schools. Dr. Huzan Davar has over 30 years of extensive experience and continuous training as a psychotherapist with a focus on trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, that's PTSD, anxiety, depression, and building healthy relationships. She has worked as a psychotherapist in public health system and now as a practice in Sydney. Her professional membership with the Australian Association of Social Workers and registration with Medicare Australia and the International Energetic Healers Association continues her work. Working in a range of diverse settings is culturally sensitive and requires respect for all, which she achieves very sensitively. She specializes in adult and adolescent work, but has also worked with children and in family therapy sessions. Dr. Huzan Davar has a holistic approach that is intuitive, dynamic, and pragmatic. And she's passionate about helping people and loves to inspire and motivate others so that they grow by developing their innate human potential. She also explores areas of client concern or issues and creates lucrative conditions for people to transform. She's committed to developing effective strategies to help her clients, and being a part-time educator and trainer for counselors at bachelor's and master's levels at university, she has a wealth of experience and training in the latest postmodern therapies. Dr. Davar has an integrated approach, having trained other counselors in existential counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy, rational emotive behavioral therapy, Gestalt therapy, person-centered narrative therapy, acceptance therapy, solution-focused, solution strength-based therapy, mindfulness, and belief problem-solving approaches, to name but a few. Being trained in yoga, relaxation, and meditation, along with hypnotherapy, she uses a collaborative approach while always respecting the specific needs of clients with sensitivity to their own values and beliefs. She has initiated a Oneness project, a global online meditation program to bring humanity back with loving kindness. Dr. Huzan Davar undertakes a holistic approach to well-being, incorporating her own brand of counseling and healing while utilizing ancient techniques of meditation and regression therapy, offering practical meditation approaches to dissolve fear, anger, sadness, and minimize the causation of physical and mental illness, both. She endeavors to serve others by empowering them to discover their true divine reality. She's also involved in establishing holistic wellness centers in India with the aim of providing free of charge wellness treatments, including yoga, meditation, pranayama, and expressive therapy. She's also authored a book on self-development titled My True Reality, a guide for inner awareness through meditation. I'm just going to share the screen so that you can read a little further. This book intends to reawaken you to understand, connect, experience your true reality, and guides you through a progression of self-awareness and inner self-transformation through meditation exercises. Dr. Davar has a bachelor's degree in psychology, master's, and a PhD degree in social work and social sciences, respectively. She obtained a doctorate degree from the Department of Religions and Theology and Social Sciences at the University of Manchester, UK, under the world-renowned scholar on Zoroastrianism, Professor John Hinnells. Her PhD was on the subject of intermarriage among Zoroastrians, and her master's degree involved the study on the socio-economic conditions of the Zoroastrian priesthood in India. As an educator, Dr. Huzan Davar recommends that if the community is to survive in the 21st century, the first thing we need to do is to get our priorities straight. And this is a quotation from her. She says, our first priority should be spiritual education and a return to human values, such as truth, love, peace, non-violence, taught by Asho Zarathustra, not just for children, but for all interested individuals. She also firmly believes, and I quote, due to a lack of spiritual education and human values of truth, love, peace, and harmony, our children seldom end up as fully fledged, enduring, and contributing members of the Zoroastrian community and worthy children of Ahura Mazda. Close quotation. With that sincere and awesome guidance, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Zarathushtri welcome to our very special Bahumata featured speaker from Australia, Dr. Huzan Davar.
Thank you. Thank you to all the organizers. I would actually like to start with a little meditation exercise and a prayer. So I would like us all to focus on this beautiful image of Asho Zarathustra. Close your eyes, sit in a comfortable position. Draw in, as I chant, glory be unto Ahura Mazda. Draw in divine light, love, and wisdom. Dear Lord, think through us, speak through us, act through us. Make us your humble divine instruments to bring more light, love, and wisdom to all our brothers and sisters globally. Krishno Tarai Mazau, 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 Khushroo Davar Mirza. Deep gratitude to the organizers, to all of you. I bow to the God within you. So, what is celebrating together in mindfulness? Being a psychotherapist, I can tell you that we all think that a mind full of many thoughts is mindfulness, but actually, mindfulness, as our previous speakers have said, is about going from many thoughts to one thought, the highest thought, that we are all cells in the body of divinity or Ahura Mazda. And it is when we are focused in our wakeful consciousness on the ultimate message of Ahura Mazda that we gain mindfulness. So what is celebration? Is it joy and happiness? According to me, happiness that comes from this world of duality, from this material world, is temporary happiness. For me, what is real celebration, real happiness, is the ability to connect with love to all. It is in doing goodness to others, not out of duty, not out of fear, but to bring happiness to others for the sake of happiness, just as Zarathustra expressed in the Gathas. We often see this beautiful image of Zarathustra. Have you ever wondered why his finger, his forefinger, is pointing upwards? Is it pointing upwards to Ahura Mazda? I believe it's pointing upwards because he's sharing his primary fundamental message of oneness. What is oneness? Oneness, togetherness, is equality, sharing, giving. Unfortunately, the world today, and because I'm a psychotherapist, I'm always dealing with people with depression, anxiety, mental health disorders, severe mental health disorders. And I can tell you, mental disorders come from the lack of love and connection to the one. We are all cells in the body of divinity. As Buddha said rightly, depression is self-centered thinking. Selfishness has creeped in all over the globe, not only within our community, but all over the world. We need to return to oneness. We need to return to the fundamental message of all masters. We are brothers and sisters of one divine Father, Mother, God, Creator. So what is mindfulness? I often do an exercise which I will share with you. Research has shown that a mind which is overactive, over-analyzing, is actually detrimental to mental health and wellness as whole. Yes, the community has gained a lot academically. Yes, we have 8% of graduates in our community, academic intelligence. But do we have wisdom? Ahura Mazda is wisdom, the primary fundamental quality of divinity. What is wisdom? It starts with the first unit of thought. Wisdom is putting our thoughts into our experiences. It is about integrating our human values into our daily life. And Zarathustra was, if we look at Ashur Zarathustra, his primary message is about the mind. I believe he is the greatest master to teach us how important having a pure mind is. A pure mind leads to a pure heart. And he often says, and I'll quote him, with an open mind, seek and listen to all the highest ideals. What are the highest ideals? We've forgotten to love, to share, to stand in truth and asha. The world is in conflict. We're still in conflict where one throws one bomb, 10 people die, another throws another bomb, 20 people die. Mahatma Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Are we considering these highest values in our daily life? How do we consider these values moment to moment in what I call CIA, constant integrated awareness, person by person, each for themselves? I believe it's through meditation practices. And I want to share with you this exercise. This is an exercise. If you have a pen and paper, I would like you to actually start with this. You see the picture of Zarathustra at the center of a circle. And you see about 10 arrows moving from the circumference of the circle. I want you for the next minute or two to see if you can focus on the picture of Zarathustra without any other thoughts. You will soon realize that the mind is erratic. It's like a monkey. It jumps from thought to thought. So just for a moment, let's do this exercise honestly, in earnest. As soon as a thought creeps into your mind, it could be a simple thought of my back is hurting, or what's the time, or, you know, what is Huzan all about? Whatever the thought is, write it down, because this is training the mind to move from many thoughts to one thought, to finally touch God essence, which was described as Afravashi. The Hindus call it Atma. Remember, language, words are labels for experience. I want you to get the experience of touching your God essence by moving from many thoughts to one thought, which is Zarathustra, Ashur Zarathustra, to moving to that silence where you allow God to merge with you at a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual self essence. Let us just do this for a few minutes. Because of lack of time, I know I'm given only a short time. I will tell you that when I do this exercise, and I've been a psychotherapist for many years, I can tell you that those that suffer from anxiety, depression, mental health issues, they have an erratic monkey mind. You know, this whole concept of multitasking, jumping from one thought to another, it's not very helpful. This exercise, whenever it's done, you will see those that suffer from mental disorders, which lead to physical disorders, suffer from an erratic monkey mind. And meditation is not only connecting to God, it is training your mind to reach to your God essence, to what Mirza said, our Fravashi, our God essence. So in order to do that, you need to understand the mind is no different to an iceberg. If I may take 2 more minutes to make you understand, it's no different to a computer. The conscious mind is only 10% of your mind. It's the mind which is focusing right now, perhaps on what I'm saying, perhaps on the picture I'm showing you. It's the functioning of the mind in the now, but 95% of you is operating from the subconscious, which is your hard drive. And in the subconscious, we have many memories, because like what all the great masters, including Zarathustra, said, every single thought, word, and deed from the beginning of time is stored in your subconscious mind, which bubbles up when triggered. So unconsciously, we are all being affected by what bubbles up from our subconscious. So if you've had trauma, if you've had, say, child sexual abuse, or you've had a terrible experience with cancer, or you've had a terrible experience with the pandemic, unconsciously, every trigger coming from the conscious will bring up negativity, vibrational negativity. And yes, prayers help you to come back into balance, but conscious awareness is necessary to sustain you. Therapy is nothing but bringing the unconscious to the conscious. My job on a daily basis is to make people aware of the negative, unconscious thought, vibrations, and memories that are coming up to the surface, and helping people address their issues, because a lot of us suppress the issues. It is only when we transcend the conscious through the subconscious that we reach the powerhouse of God. Because there is another concept called the superconscious. The God essence, or as Mirza said, the Fravashi of you can only be reached when we transcend this monkey mind through the memory bank of the subconscious and tap in silence the God essence. It is from that silence that we get the same energy vibration as God. I have done this exercise many times, and I teach many people now, a global movement to teach people how to gain guidance from the God within. So yes, thank you, Jaru, so much, and Karishma so much for that kind introduction. But, you know, I did study the Zoroastrian texts under this beautiful guidance of Alan Williams and Professor John Hinnells in England, but I got soon tired of the textbooks. You know why? Because every one of their great scholars had a different interpretation of the same word and the same sentence. I wanted a direct experience of God. I wanted to feel Aramaza in my heart and in my whole body. I wanted to feel his vibration. I wanted to merge with God. And meditation, meditation, meditation is the way to listen directly to the CEO of the universe. I don't want to be in conflict no more. I've seen too many of our community members fighting about irrelevant things, words. This Gatha says this, the Bandidat says this, and that says that. Go directly to the source. Feel God in your heart is my message to all of you. Why would you look at an interpretation, even though it's a sage and a high-class priest interpreting the words of Zarathustra? Why would you not go to Zarathustra directly and learn the art of communion with God? I say this with humility, not with ego. I say this with humility. We can stop our conflicts and fighting and our erratic monkey minds and our over-analysis by silence with God within. And that is my message to all of you today. I bow to the divinity within each one of you and so grateful to God that is in all that is. Thank you.
Most wonderful.
I don't need to say any more. Thank you very
After
much.
my own heart.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davar. To all those present here and all those who will be watching the recordings, this session and all the other sessions can be viewed on Zoroastrians.net, courtesy Mr. Yazdi Tantra, who also, with all his work as the chairperson of the Zoroastrian Bank, manages to find time for this webinar series, the Zoroastrians.net, which is a treasure trove of knowledge, and supporting many other webinar series right through COVID times. Thank you, Mr. Tantra. It is important to also note, I suppose, at this time that we have had two very important webinars this week. We have had Arvat Sahib, Brigadier Behram Panthaki speaking on our Sam Manekshaw Sahib, the concept of leadership, collective action, and good work. In Bangalore, that webinar was. We had an interfaith prayer meeting from the Religions for Peace, where our own Homi Gandhi, the ex-president of Fezana, spoke on the Aryama issue of prayer itself. So these waves of resonance are going through the world. And as our Ervat Sahib, Dr. Ramyar Karanjia teaches, in addition to the Aryama Yazata, which works both on harmony and bonding in relationships with reciprocity, it is also a healing Yazata. The energy, the divine energy is that of healing, as has been explained by our speakers today. And his hamkaras, or the hamkaras of the energy of the Aryama Yazata, are Ardibesht, together with Sarosh Yazat and Behram Yazat. So it's Adar, Sarosh Yazat, Behram Yazat, and Ardibesht Yazat. But together with that, this concept of believing, this concept of, in the Hormozdyari Nirang, we have the Begunaman, as Ervat Sahib, Dr. Ramya Karanja expresses, told to be doubtless. We can only be doubtless when we believe and we can trust. So the previous session of Bahumata, as Mr. Meher Amal Saji has arranged, was on building trust. And we have some of the speakers here with us, like Uncle Rohinton Rivetna. We'll start now by taking the specific questions for our speakers. And then please start raising your digital hand so that our Yazdi side can find you and you can make your own contributions. While we do that, what I'd like to do is ask our Mobedyar Parva Namiranian if she could please highlight her idea of science and religion with her work for COVID last year. Would you be happy to give us a little more explanation on that? In the meantime, would everyone start putting their questions and also raising your digital hands? Yes, Parva Jan.
Habish, I had one moment internet Verbindung, internet connection interruption. Well, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, could you explain to us, you said in the days of COVID, your own papers have talked about COVID-19 and we need your guidance for this. And you talked about prayers having an important role to play. Could you give us any other ideas you have on how we can strengthen maybe our immune system through prayers? Like Mobedyar Sahib Bhandara has arranged so many prayer sessions around the world. How important do you think it is to pray together to build our immune system?
As you yourself have very nicely said about the immune system, also that can be considered as a physical part. Also, the energy that we are having these community, we are having people that we love. We can still see each other. We can still be in touch. Although that is very different, very I know, very different from the real one. But that is a good that has a very good energy, and I say that really from the bottom of my heart, because since the start of this pandemic, as Anahita had gesagt, had the English word. Sorry, I am using the German word. I mean that I have not also been into Iran for about 2.5 years. Of course, that is very difficult for me because my children should be in contact with Ateshkade, with our religions. There is nothing here. It is very difficult. But these virtual meetings, also I know that our friends in Iran are very, although they are in really difficult situations, but they are working very hard on these subjects to have this connectivity, as you have said very nicely, to pass these virtual energy to our children, to the other generation. And I think that is a good idea, a really good idea. These seminars, webinars, they can just keep us near each other, keep us warm, I can say, to be strong enough to resist against this disease. That is the only thing I can say now.
Thank you very much, Parva Jan. People have asked for the recording of the prayer of Mobed Sahib Meherban Firuzgari, which you shared. It will be available on Zoroastrians.net through this recording. And with your permission, Yazdi Sahib, Yazdi Tantra, I would request you to share the link for that recording later on Zoroastrians.net if possible. We have a question from Mobedyar Sahib Manik Bhujwala next. Do go ahead, Mr. Bhujwala.
Thank you. Very good organized webinar. And I had something to say in connection with Dr. Davar's very good talk, because I myself, it's my favorite subject, mindfulness, which I studied in my master degree course on interfaith action at Claremont University. And, there we were taught that, there is our primitive mind in a physical sense. There's a primitive mind of the brain and then the cognitive mind, and the primitive mind usually kind of reacts very, very fast to any stimuli, like if someone says something bad or something upsets us, whereas the cognitive mind takes a longer time to, to react, so what happens is usually we react, based on our past experiences and, past bad experiences usually, whereas we have to, whenever we are upset, we are supposed to, first of all, stop thinking, whatever the train of thought is, and calm ourselves, look around us, to see, to make ourselves present in the present moment, as they say, and then, basically think calmly about, what someone is doing to upset us, And I actually practiced that on a young woman who was very upset because some people were saying bad things to her, etc. And it really works, that if you, it takes a time, But my question is that, does our primitive mind change? There is a kind of like what they call a plasticity, that we can train the primitive mind to start a new habit, to, instead of the old habit, to start a new habit. And that way, whether we can successfully make ourselves much more a calmer and a happier person.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhujbala. This brings me to you. Your question is addressed to Dr. Davar, so I'd like to bring her in. It also brings me to the concept of Tushna Maitish, which Mobedyar Bhandara Sahib explained. I think it's Yasnaha 43.15, which says Tushna Maitish is best, Bahishta. Dr. Davar, over to you, please.
So thank you so much for that. We have, I would say, three aspects of functioning mind. You call the primitive mind is the erratic monkey mind. We have then the second aspect, which you said was cognitive, which is again manas in Sanskrit, which is the thinking mind. But finally, we have the concept of the wise mind, which Ahura Mazda spoke about. To reach the wise mind requires training. I just did a recent workshop on meditation, and the title of the workshop was to respond rather than react. What does it take to respond rather than react? In life, we are thrown many challenges. We are thrown with people who may be rude, who may behave badly. How do we respond? What is a response rather than a reaction? A reaction is impulsive trigger, okay, to defend ourselves. It's fear-based and it has lack of love. To be responsive is even in that constant moment, integrated moment, to be aware of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you are a spirit, an energy, an eternal cell in the body of God. And so take a pause between the stimulus that is triggering you and your response. Connect with divinity, and this takes a while to train. That's what meditation is all about. It's not only about connecting to God, it's training ourselves. Zarathustra wanted good thoughts, good words, good deeds. My question to you all is, how do we get there? How do we, because yes, we pray, we go to the fire temple, we may say a whole heap of prayers, but then you walk out of the fire temple and you stab your neighbor. I want to know how you can have constant integrated awareness. And that can happen by training your mind, okay, in mindfulness training, meditation. And the simple answer is you have to create a pause of reflection. And so I do spiritual exercises on a daily basis. And first thing in the morning, I am asking God to think through me, speak through me, act through me, and I hand over all the fruits of the tasks of the day to Ahura Mazda, whether they're good or not so good. But in the night, I do what I call self-inquiry, where I'm watching every thought, where I'm watching every word, where I'm watching every action of mine and asking myself, how could I have done better? And the next day, I make a commitment to Ahura Mazda to improve on my thoughts, words, and deeds. Evolution of consciousness can only happen if you are aware of your negative thoughts, words, and deeds. Right? So just saying your prayers, I believe, is not enough. Prayers are very good for bringing you into positive vibration. Yes. And I do that daily. But self-awareness. Through the day, what were my thoughts? What were my words? What were my deeds? How do I commit to not getting angry with the children, not getting angry with the husband, not getting upset with the clients that may come through? We are constantly challenged with fear. There are only two states of being, fear and love. Every time you need to have awareness because your body talks to you. We are vibrational beings. We feel the fear in our stomach. We feel the anger in our throat. Okay? We need to be aware in constant, everyday, daily moments. When fear comes, when anger comes, when sadness comes, and we need to be able to shift it to love. And we can only shift it by that moment of pause and awareness of who we really are. We are a cell in the body of Ahura Mazda. And so is every single human being and every single creation. We will start taking responsibility for not only all human beings on the planet, but all creations, if we are in constant integrated awareness of how we think, how we speak, and how we act. I hope I've answered that question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davar. If there are any other questions, we've got many teachers over here. We've got Kaya Marshmeta, Dina McIntyre. We've got so many wonderful teachers. If any of you have anything to add, please just raise your digital hand and Yesdi will find you and unmute you.
Hello.
Yes, do go ahead.
It was a beautiful thought, a wonderful speech by
Dr. Davar.
Dr. Davar. She's after my own heart. Every word that she spoke is what I've been speaking to everybody. And I've been telling my daughter, I've been telling my students to live in the now, to live in the present moment. If you are in the present moment, you can be mindful. Past is history. Present is a gift from God. And future is a mystery of which we have no idea. Therefore, if you live in the present, if you live in the now, you can be mindful and you can transcend. You can transform yourself from monkeyness to godliness. That's all.
Thank you, Mummy. That was my mummy, Jaru. Over
Thank
to
you so much for adding that, Jaru, because yes, you know, there's such a short time, but mindfulness is about being in the now. It's not about past. Past is gone. You can't turn the clock back. The future is in God's hand, not our hand. We need to be mindful, okay, of not going into the future with worry and in a hurry. We need to be in the now. So thank you so much for adding to that, I just want to say one little thing. I am reading some of the comments and people are asking me, I would appreciate your teaching lessons on meditation. I can only offer my services to all of you. I do have a group, but most of the people are from India. And so you're welcome to join that group, or we can start another group, which is got the Zoroastrian, if you like, Zoroastrian themes within it. So I am available. I do believe that service is the best form of growing our consciousness. So I am available to serve all of you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Davar. We have with us Dina McIntyre, a very respected person of the Justice Fraternity. And of course, 20th of February is the day of the United Nations World Day of Social Justice. So I'd like to bring Dina in now. Dina, we can't actually hear you. Have you covered your speaker? No, we still can't hear you, Dina. All right. If you could add in your comment in the chat box, maybe I could read it out for you. Okay. All right. Our next comment will be from, I think it's Maruk Tamboli, if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead, Mrs. Tamboli. But you'll need to unmute yourself first.
Hi, I would just suggest to add to Dr. Davar's fantastic dissertation, I would say you could also go on Google, look at Marsha Linehan's book on dialectical behavior therapy. And she talks about the stop technique. So S being stop, freeze, and then you go on, and O is observe, and P is then proceed. But the T is very important, where you take account of what is around you and then bring the wise mind into it. Take account of the conscious mind, the cognitive mind, take account of the primitive mind, and then bring the wise mind into it. So that might be another addition that might be helpful to people. It's free of charge. It's Marsha Linehan, Linehan. And Dr. Davar might also have something to add on the benefits of that. Or
thank you very much, Mrs. Tamboli. Dr. Davar has put her email address in to continue this conversation as people require her advice further. I'd now like to be able to bring in Irma Sarosh, and her comment is a dual one. As Dr. Davar said, responsibility is responding in the moment. And there was one more, which was about the concept of communion, which I think Dr. Davar has addressed. If our Mobedyar Mirza Sahib would like to comment with his expert opinion on anything, or our Anahita Jan would like to add in anything before we close, we'd be very grateful to you for your additions. Otherwise, we will
repeat the question, please. Can you repeat the question?
It's just if you've got anything to add, to link anything that you want to say from your own experience, both with the prayers and with being I suppose, a very high-flying mariner in terms of sailing the seas, I suppose. Today, we are sailing very difficult times, and it doesn't matter how choppy the seas are, it's how we learn to sail. So anything that you would like to add in any context?
Well, basically, every time that you feel like you want to react, ask yourself the question, why? Why am I doing this? And more often than not, the answer will be, my ego is hurt. So if you can address that honestly, half the problem will be gone. That's my experience.
Thank you very much,
well said.
Mobedyar Sahib Mirza. We will be closing shortly with a hambandagi from Mobedyar Sahib Khushroo Mirza. But before that, if Anahita Jan would like to say anything, or if Dina McIntyre has been able to unmute herself. Khushroo Mirza Sahib, may we hand over to you to close today's session.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I will go with one Yatahu Vairyo and one Ashem Bahu. Yatahum Vairyo Atharatu Sasachit Hacha Wangheus Das Damanango Shautananam Mangheus Pasdai Shatrem Cha Huraya Yimdre Gopyo Dadat Vastarem Hashem Vahu Vahistemasti Ustasti Ustahmai Yatashai Vahistai Hashem.
Thank you very much, Mirza Sahib. Thank you to our global audience. Thank you for joining us here. And thank you for joining us at the World Zoroastrian Congress later this year. Thank you for contributing all your efforts towards all the World Congresses and the Youth Congresses. Thank you, Anahita Jan, for all the contributions you have made towards the Youth Congresses over time. Hamazor, Hama Shobad, or as we say in Iranian, Hamazor, Hama Shobin. United in spirituality and united in our physical strength towards good. Yazdan Panabad, Derzio Shadbad. Thank you all. Thank you, Yazdi Sahib, for putting these recordings on Zoroastrians.net. And thank you, Baba Meher, for all your efforts to bring our speakers together. And of course, gratitude to our audience here and those who are joining us virtually through our recordings. Do join us the same time on the first Sunday of March.